Done.
Have you hit record?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So the headache that this has brought us to, I can't believe it was as simple as just fucking using a laptop to record when we've gone through probably 50 different apps trying to record ourselves on footage. So this is our first attempt. But yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, I like that I managed to. You were pressuring me for the timing. You were like, okay, we're gonna do. All right, we're gonna do it 30 minutes. 30 minutes exactly. I was gonna fucking just have a banana, some snacks, of coffee, and then it ended up like whilst you were fucking around with it all, I'd managed to throw some fish in the oven, get a little cook on, eat the fish whilst we're still like trying to do it back and forth, wash the dish.
Yeah, so we discussed doing this recording, sticking to like a timely fashion. Like, yeah. So I want to get this started at like 1:40, and I was like this to you. Nah, dude, you haven't really got time to eat because I want to crack on with it. And you, in the process of us trying to figure this shit out, you've managed to effectively cook a fish dinner. You know what was funny, dude? Because see the way the bottom of the screen, I can only see to a certain extent, and you had a plate out of my view, and all I could see is a knife and fork cutting, and eventually the fork coming up and feeding your mouth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just coming in view.
I like how you've got that fucking nice little netting sack of apples at the side of you.
That's why I laughed, right? I don't know if you heard me because they were all in a line like this, and my laptop to begin with was here, and it was really aggressive.
like almost if we just started it off and we were just recording from here. Am I too close to the camera?
A granddad view when you're like this,
yeah.
underneath.
Oh, dude, have you seen that? So what's happened? There's a video on YouTube, and this guy's this guy's gone traveling. This older man's gone traveling like around Europe, and he's filmed the entire thing on his GoPro camera. And what's happened is he eventually did the entire trip and seen all these brilliant places on his GoPro, and he's got home after it and downloaded the GoPro onto a computer, and the whole footage is his face. He had the camera pointed.
I know the one you're talking about, where he's on the train.
Yeah.
And he's just talking through it, but the camera is just
it's
on it.
Fucking awesome, that. So currently you parked in a lay-by, are you? You parked so because obviously you go to work and you do your work, and then living in a van, you go into like effectively to go into camp for the night wherever you want, aren't you? But before you were saying that you had to you like to reverse your van up against a wall so the back doors are protected. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because where my bed is, I don't like the idea of the back doors, just like my bed being here and then my back doors just being like super accessible.
Yeah.
Someone being able to like pull the doors open, get dragged out.
Yeah, I can't actually believe that we've been talking about doing a chat/podcast for months because we're so distant from each other. And it was as simple as doing a Zoom recording. When we thought about so many ambitious things, I was like, right, so what we'll have to do, we'll have to record ourselves with one phone, then use another entirely different phone to get the audio. Do you know what I mean? We've been making it like into a dead in-depth thing. You know, like it's a proper...
Yeah.
It's almost like an unimaginable, unachievable task when it's something so basic. It's footage of us talking on a computer screen,
I've just signed up to a 6-year course on camera, and I'm sure. So by the end of the 6 years, yeah, like if like a good drinking game to play would have been like, dude, every time you hear, dude, just click the link I've sent you, like we just would have just been shit-faced. Just spent like the last few months just constantly drunk with sick down up.
Yeah, you know what's interesting on the screen, looking behind your head. It almost looks like that's a window looking out at the sky, but the sky's. Do you know what I mean? It looks like clouds and stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's clouds and
Oh, a nighttime themed.
yeah, like a purple sky.
Right. So how's your week been, dude? Anyway.
Been all right, actually. Yeah, it's been what's been more interesting was last night. Fucking
Why? What's going on? Oh, did you have shrooms?
yeah, and it was
What-
like I'd done shrooms before, but that was really the first time like I'd properly gone in on it, and because I did it before.
Alone or with people?
No, with a friend of mine. I don't think you met Danny. Did you ever meet Danny? He went like Boardmasters and things like that. Met him through festivals.
I'm not sure, but what puts me off shrooms, like, and it actually does, is my experience with weed.
Right.
Like being stoned is almost manageable. But what I found difficult was when you have space cakes, it's a big investment. You're stoned for hours, aren't you? So it's like, it's a commitment to decide I'm going to have this space cake, and I'm either going to be fucked for 6 hours or I'm going to have a good time. Do you know what I mean? And when it's shit, it's horrible, isn't it? Feeling dead dizzy. And like, I remember being at my mate's house, right? And we'd all decided to do these space cakes. And what had happened, we'd ate these space cakes and whilst also smoking weed, and we'd be like all dead giddy, dead excited. And we was like, fucking hell, this is right, laugh this. And we ordered our tea. We ordered a takeaway. And in the time for the takeaway to get delivered and the space cakes kicking in, they effectively fucked us up that much. Neither of us could answer the door to receive the food.
Yeah, I thought you were going to be like, none of us were hungry.
But you know what? You know what had also happened. So what had happened, right? We was that stoned. We was that stoned that we had to ring that many different takeaways because every time every time the person from the takeaway we'd rang answered the phone, his voice was that hilarious that instead of placing our order, we just laughed in hysterics down the phone at the person, and then had to hang up and ring a completely different takeaway. And we did this about 7 or 8 times, and then finally we put our order in. But at this point, we're smoking weed, so that's far less aggressive than that space cake, which is currently digesting in our stomachs, is about to kick fuck out of us. And then when the food was coming, literally, like, we was all sat on the sofa, and the door knocked, and everyone's eyes just glanced over at each other, and no one wanted to move. We was literally all felt like we was on a boat or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
but like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about what I imagine with mushrooms. I imagine for it to be just like that, to like space cakes. I imagine it to be a commitment, which you can either have a good time or you'd end up having a shit fucking time on them and just like feeling dead dizzy and shit. But I don't know. I've never tried them. So what?
Go on.
What was your experience last night?
So like, what's important, and like you'll know this through like weed, is like your setting, isn't it? It's like, what environment are you in, like on the outside, and then what's your headspace going in? And if your headspace is like,
so how are you perceiving what's going on around you, sort of thing?
Yeah,
a different thought process in terms of you looking at things differently because of the fact you're stoned.
Say that again.
So like, your perception changes when you're high. You have a slightly different view on things. So in terms of Not just like things you might find hilarious. I'm talking about like in general, people that get high tend to think deeply into shit, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
My only thing with people that get proper stoned all the time is they love like they love conspiracy shit, and like they love talking about things that are a lot of the time it's nonsense, you know what I mean? So they can either be quite switched on from it, or they can just have these weird views on shit. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think that's high people though. I think that's like that's the person.
Depends on the individual who's high.
Yeah, because like I don't give a fuck about conspiracies. Don't get me wrong. I got a friend that I find it entertaining.
You've had the talks though, haven't you? When people go into stuff like.
Yeah, and like I just find it a bit entertaining. Like more than anything, it's like I'll just kind of sit along for the.
Anyway, dude, tell me your experience on mushrooms. First of all, what's the effect in terms of like, if you was describing mushrooms to someone that's not had mushrooms but may have had other substances, what would you say it's similar to? Like, is it a bit similar to being drunk, or does it have a similar effect? I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, it's like a thing for me. What happened was because I was watching a Justin Gaethje fight at the Khabib. I was watching the fight, and
dude, I've still not seen it.
What was I won't give it away then.
I was out drinking last night, so I've not actually watched the fight, but I've seen. I've basically seen it on everyone's Instagram stories and stuff, but no, I do need to watch it.
And it was kind of funny because I'd be watching it, and then I would go to say something to Danny that was like being a bit like analytical of it, like say I seen like Khabib like limping or something like that, or I was trying to like see who looked more aggressive, but then also whilst that was going on, like Justin Gaethje's head would be like, the way to describe it would be like
so this was going on whilst under the influence of mushrooms.
Yeah, so like I would be so I'd look at it and I'd be like, oh, who's gonna win kind of thing, but then also like their fucking head would go like a Pez head, like really big, or like would like go long and like a tree trunk. And so
it exaggerates visuals.
I don't know if it exaggerates them. It kind of,
because you said obviously like, what's it like with colors and stuff?
Yeah, colors it like it can brighten, it can do whatever, like it can brighten, it can go like different.
Sounds like a multi-purpose cleaning product. You can do whatever. You can use it to mop the floors, clean the surfaces. It's very
grimy
multi-purpose.
Grimy sinks, you name it. Yeah.
You sounded like you was doing a commercial for Sillet Bang then. Do you know what I mean? You basically do whatever.
And it, one thing that this is essentially why I did it, was to learn. Like what I like about when I get high, if I smoke a little weed, get high and like meditate on it and reflect, so like I'll learn shit from it, and like I don't want to do it every day. I want to do it like maybe once or twice a week, and learn from it. And that's what with the shrooms experience, I definitely learned from that. I realized how obviously like how little we know, and it's like we don't know, we don't know any.
Dude, sorry to interrupt. I just did that thing where I was fucking about with the iPad trying to balance it better, and my head was going like that. Do you know what I mean? Do you remember when you did that recording when you wanted to get footage of your body, and you'd had the camera? I'm sure you said at the time you was trying to balance it on an ironing board, and you was like walking away, and then it flopped down, and then you had to walk back and stand it back up.
What, to take take like a body shot with a towel? Abs.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Well, sorry, what was you saying? Anyway.
Yeah, so what I noticed with me and like people around and stuff is like we like to try and make sense of stuff, and we always want an answer, and we're always like everyone's trying to figure it out, and then like a lot of time last night was spent for me. I would go to say something, and then I'd realize before I'd said it where it was coming from. So like,
Yeah.
if I was gonna say something, I would like it before I'd said it. I'd realize, like, let's say I wanted to comment on the fight, I'd realize I was trying to sound like it was truth, like whatever I was saying was like, oh yeah, I know, you know. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's quite hard.
Yeah, like you had enough knowledge on the subject that you spoke. You was the speaking voice of it.
Yeah, and then like the shrooms just kept reminding me, like, you don't know shit, because like so much is going on, so much crazy stuff's going on, and you're like, well.
How do you feel about these people that talk about like DMT and stuff? I mean, I've never tried this, but people talk about. Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
They say it's like
The
people
spirit
say it's
molecule.
like and it's like can reset your body and like you how you think and stuff like that. But
Definitely.
it's meant. People say it's like when they go on this experience, they feel like they're seeing another realm or another world or something. Do you know what I mean? And then they get these basically what it does, it reinforces the idea that this isn't it. Do you know what I mean? There is something else going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if I'm quite stubborn with things like that. Like it takes a lot for me to believe something. Do you know what I mean? Without facts.
Well, you need to experience it. It's all about experience. It's like, if somebody was to have an opinion on, like, let's say I was to have an opinion on how to tattoo, it would be irrelevant to you because you tattoo, so you in that world. If I was to try and speak from experience,
so if say a vegan was trying to dictate how to cook the tastiest steak if they'd never eaten it before.
yeah. So I think DMT is the same. I feel like if you're gonna have a comment on it and have like this idea on it, you should do it, and then you should be like, now I've got an idea of it.
Yeah, so you can't comment until you've tried something, which is a lot like, you know what really pisses me off, dude? When you give someone an idea of something you want to do, or you say it's like, so it can even, friends can be guilty of this, but like you say to someone, oh, so I'm going to, my plan is to do this, and the first thing people like to do, going back to what we've just said, is they want to give you reasons why this thing won't work. But like you just said, without them going through that same experience, without them trying that, then it never worked. They're not in a position to tell you that. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that's their outlet. That's their shit. Like that's all of their whatever it may be, like mummy issues, daddy issues, insecurities, fears, and things like that, and not getting punched in the face or getting punched in the face, and all of that is like then their idea of like whether you're able to do a task. And it's like, you don't know that. No, that's just them projecting their shit onto you. And one dude, like, do you ever think about like what we've done and what we've been through and things like that, and then just think like, when you do that, because one exercise I do for my clients is, or for my consultation when I have them, it like one of the questions I ask, and I think it's a really good question because it kind of like it gives them a lot of like momentum and a lot of confidence going into like the training to be disciplined, is say to them, what are the goals like that you've like in the past, what are the things that you said you're going to do and you've gone out and done it, and like what are the goals and the feats, and like really like try and get them to think back about what they've achieved. And then in doing that, what happens is all of a sudden you get this like confidence of yourself where you're like, oh fuck yeah, I can do this, and like, you know, you start to back yourself. And I think like that's a real powerful and cool thing to do.
So like having an understanding on your own experiences and things you've done yourself to strengthen the belief of your own opinions. Going back to what we've just said, when people tend to advise you on something they know nothing about, and the advice is pointless. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very easy to people to say how they'd react in a certain situation when the situation's something they're never going to face. Like, when have you ever had people when they go like, oh, if anyone tried to rob me with a gun, I'd just like grab the gun and like turn it around to point it at them, and like you just think, right, okay.
Yeah. I would do like, yeah, they're like, I'd do a fucking scissor kick and hit the gun in the air and then catch it.
Yeah, I'd like just grab it and then twist it round, and it's just like
take it apart real quick. Like dismantle it.
That's the thing. Talk can be cheap, can't it? It's like it's very easy to.
All right, DMX.
Do you know this is another thing? Like when people discredit people that have had success in a certain area, and like say for example, you get like. Say like there's a film out that's a good film, and for some reason like someone can't fault it as a film, and someone will just have no reason for what they're saying, but they just say, "Oh, mate, that film's shit. It's a proper shit film. Like, why is it shit? It's just shit. He's the actor and it's shit." Do you know what I mean? It's just like they're deciding that they're discrediting the success of that particular film or the acting in it when they for no reason. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
It's like saying that. Say you had an athlete that's and saying they're not even that fit. You know what I mean? Like someone who's an Olympic runner or something that's saying, "Nah, they're not even that fit. It's easy what they do." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's easy for someone to have an opinion on something that's never going to happen to them. Do you know what I mean? Because they're never going to compete against that particular athlete. So it's easy for them to discredit them based on their own ability. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and reality's like tricky. It's a tricky terrain, isn't it? Reality.
Yeah.
There's certain things that you'll do in life where you'll experience things, whether it's you'll experience things where, like jiu-jitsu, like, but if you like before you do it, you're not aware of how certain people can literally control you, like grab a hold of you and
grab a hold of you
and do whatever they want to you. Like you can be squirming and you think in your head, no, trust me, mate.
That's a very misleading concept, isn't it?
What?
Grab a hold of you and do whatever they want to. That's very similar to a rapist.
Well,
are you comparing jiu-jitsu, a keen jiu-jitsu enthusiast to a rapist?
Masterful chess rapist, yeah. Just like number one rapist in the world.
They just know how to work the body without permission.
Like
they don't need an invite.
What?
They don't need an invite. They don't even need to know you're there.
Like there's this, you know, like just there's a guy who looks like a teddy bear and he looks harmless, and I'll roll with him and he'll just like have me up in the air. This is not now. This is when I first started, like Superman, like a kid, the dad would do with their kid. But he'd have like my lapel, and he'd have parts of my where I can't move, and he'd be like, "Wee," and just mess around with me, and I'm like legit.
Yeah, so it's all down to conditioning, isn't it? So appearances aren't everything in the world of sport. So someone might. It's like what I've always found misleading when you get someone that's really good at endurance, and that they'll be great at running, but they also have body fat. So, and these systems are completely separate, aren't they? Someone having body fat doesn't determine that they're terrible at running, or do you know what I mean? So you can have these people that are actually really fit, but they carry weight, they carry excess fat, and it's misleading because people have a perception that this your stereotypical athletic look, what people see as like an aesthetic look, what you expect. Because you can have these people that go to the gym and they have a healthy diet, therefore keep the body fat low, but the fitness is terrible. So they have muscle, but the muscle's only conditioned to just do really basic sets and reps, but they have an incredible physique. So it's more down to conditioning than maintenance of body fat, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think as well, like I feel like bodybuilders and people like that as well. Like obviously I like bodybuilding, I do a bit of bodybuilding, and I find it can be like the almost like the lazy way. It can be like the way the lazy way of finding your purpose or sport, or because you can be like, oh, I need to find a sport, and then you're like, oh, I'll go to the gym to get in shape, and then you're like, this is my like sport. Like my sport is just to getting in shape.
It's very direct, isn't it? Like it's very direct, and it doesn't require. I don't think it necessarily requires you to target every area. So you'd see someone. Athletes are effectively all rounders, aren't they? They tend to be strong, but they also tend to be effective in terms of endurance, and then other aspects of training. And as opposed to bodybuilding, they're targeting hypertrophy specifically to look and have more muscle mass and have the shape to make them look more athletic. But in terms of fitness, you can basically, what I'm trying to say is you can look the part, but you might have a terrible engine. You might actually be unfit when faced in practical situations. So someone might have an incredible body in shape and then just get knackered climbing a flight of stairs. Do you know what I mean?
Robert Homans.
Shout out to Rob.
Yeah, shout out to Rob.
Every group of people has a Rob, don't they? One of those
like
skinny enough to have abs for free.
Yeah, basically great body on him, great rig, and his diet consists of like 4 tins of baked beans a day, and that's it. Now that was years ago.
Yeah, and that they almost flaunt them bodies around, don't they? Them people.
Well, that was me.
Proud of them.
That was us.
What?
That was us.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose.
Dude, we went fucking surfing, and it was like November, December time, maybe even like January. So
didn't we do a load of press ups before we left the hotel?
We borrowed the wetsuit and we borrowed the board. We did a load of push-ups, maybe even at the fucking outside on the driveway of where you get the board or something, and then walked down to the beach with our wetsuit half down with our body out with a little chest pump from push-ups. And it was about 4 degrees, and then we'd get out the sea, do the same wrap round, and it'd be like it would be freezing, like freezing.
Yeah. Cold. You risking catching the flu or something just to look the part walking to the beach.
Oh God, you wouldn't be long getting frostbite.
So talk to me about your week, dude. What's going down? Are you obviously with like, because I'm still able to tattoo at the moment. We've gone into tier 3 and like I'm still able to semi-work as normal, but the shop's struggling in terms of in terms of the barbering side, like it's not as busy, but I think in a way with the pubs and bars shutting at the moment, it's almost a good time for tattooists because people aren't going out as much and they're still working, so people are tending to see it as a time to get the tattoos sorted. So work's been good for me, really. It's been steady, so I've not really had any days off, to be honest. I've been pretty much flat out. But in terms of PT, are people who you see as regular clients, are they taking as many lessons? And if so, are they as keen and stuff? What's the general thing? Because I've massively let myself go in lockdown. I'm trying to get back. I'm playing a lot of tennis at the moment, but I'm trying to also get back into training. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I noticed you were playing a lot of tennis. That's a like, how did you get hooked on that? Because wasn't you playing table tennis or ping pong?
That was a long time ago. But as I was saying about the clients, are you getting as much? Are as many clients coming to you and stuff as normal? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What I like about it, yeah, they are. What I like about my job is you're your own boss, for one, which is enjoyable, and I decide like my work ethic will, like, my client base will reflect my work ethic. So for example, if I go in and I train, let's say I train 6 clients, so I do 6 hours in the morning, and I might do 4 and then have a break, an hour, and then do 2 or 3 and whatever, at 3 and 3, or like, and then I can decide then that what I've learned works for me is if I just approach people, and I can be done then, or I can stay in the gym and approach people and, you know, talk to them about their goals, talk to them about like, just like, you know, have they got aches and pains, and if they like say yeah, then I can, like, if I go into it with like the heart of like, oh, I'm just gonna try and improve someone's day and give them some value, then it reflects back. Then I start getting, like, I can pick up clients. So it's just a case of my work ethic. And then in terms of my work ethic, it ebbs and flows. Like, I'm not always on, like, I think that's a cyclical thing. I think that there's this, like, you're in this cycle, and yeah, you can break the cycle, but it's like when you meditate and watch your mind. I had a month where I meditated for an hour a day, where I'd watch my mind for an hour, and I started to recognize that it was always on a cycle. It was always on, like, it would go to this, it would go to that, it would have certain people in it, certain people would be in my mind, things like that. And so I think that's quite, if you've got that going on in your mind, and the chatter in your mind is on a cycle and on a loop, like, you know, then it's probably going to be the same in terms of like your work ethic and how motivated you are. And I do believe also you can with practice, you can, like, if I'm going to say like habit or discipline, you can create habits, you can create discipline. I do believe in that as well. So yeah, it just,
we're effectively, sorry,
it just, so yeah, in terms of work, like, works. So like, yeah, work for me is good. People are still training. People, especially, I think, like, I really, really, really like, it's like a playground for me, because I know that every time someone comes for an hour and they train, I do 50-minute sessions, so I get 10 minutes to like shit and stuff after, because I've had it before where I had coffee with a client, and then the next one be downstairs, and I'm like, oh, I need a shit, and then like you just can't shit.
Do you know what I found? Do you know what an observation I made the other day? And I thought this through, because sometimes, because I struggle, I basically need a wee all the time, and when I need to go for a wee, I have to go, and can't really hold it in. And I was thinking,
like a 7-year-old boy.
Yeah, or like an 80-year-old man. There's no middle ground. It's at either ends of the age groups. But what I was thinking is what do bus drivers do?
Ah, dude, they just get strong bladders because I did HGV driving, didn't I? And
Yeah,
so I delivered for an explosive. Eventually, I did I think like 2 years of HGV work, and then I decided I wanted to make as much money as possible. So I delivered bombs for a private company, and we had to go in twos. So you'd have two guys in a cab,
yeah.
and then people used to be upset with me because I was like a meathead and I was like drinking like 5 liters of water a day. So we'd be driving a lot. It'd be 4 hours 15 of driving before you have a break. So some
Yeah.
people we drive to Scotland or Norway or somewhere crazy, and then they want to do like 4 hours 15 without stopping. But then with me, I was like every 30 minutes I'd need a piss.
That dude, that'd literally be me. And I was thinking about this the other day because obviously I've got a toilet in the shop, and when I'm tattooing, I have regular breaks. Give the client a bit of a breather. So I sort of go at it and probably stop every hour and a half, 2
Give them a
hours.
Lucozade. They can have a Lucozade.
Yeah, but I was thinking, what does a bus driver do literally in the middle of his round, because they go on a route, don't they? And
Yeah.
he's got a bus full of people. But imagine if he was literally bursting.
All right.
I was wondering if they've got a little sneaky bottle behind.
Dude,
that cab.
100%. I guarantee you, if you had 100,000 men as bus drivers, what do you reckon it'd be? 800,000? No, 100,000 men as bus drivers.
Your math was off
there. What do you reckon? 70,000? Like if it's 100,000, what do you reckon? Do you reckon it's like 50,000 have pissed in a bottle? Do you reckon every single one of them? I would have pissed in a bottle for sure.
I think you'd be quite surprised. I think depending on how long they've done it, they've all been caught out, haven't they?
Everybody gets caught short.
But yeah, no, because I do worry about. I try and knuckle down with tattooing, and I will try and sort of give the client the money's worth, and because I charge by time the same as you. But you find that you don't want to come across as someone that's stopping all the time. So you have to sort of have intervals of where you think, right, I'll push on for another hour. But bus drivers don't have that luxury, do they? If they're in the middle of a route, they have. But what you've noticed with bus drivers, they get back to the depot or wherever they're pulling up, and they set off again on another route. Have you seen that? Because the bus driver doesn't always stop at the thingy. They'll do. I don't know how it works, but they'll do several routes, won't they, before they. Do you know what I mean?
What? So they'll actually get to the depot and then just reverse in and then go again.
Well, it's a loop, isn't it? Where they pull up at the depot, they set off in the same direction. Do you know what I mean? So there's no reversing. They go in a big loop, don't they?
So you just mean a bus stop, or do you mean the depot?
They have like a station, don't they? Sometimes where they go back to a station, but
yeah, where all the other all the other buses are, and they're all friends and stuff, and then all the other buses are like a family, like a mummy bus and a daddy bus.
Because obviously, what you were saying before about having that, like to have sort of like how your mindset is and how you sort of how you approach your day-to-day work in terms of your the effort you put in sort of comes back in terms of how many clients you get in, and that's very much the way. That's very much a similarity in terms of our two professions, because we don't turn up somewhere, you do your set hours and you get your money at the end of the week. You're constantly looking for new customers. You need to, once I've done a tattoo on someone and they go away, I need to post the content online, and then so you go on Instagram, and then people who see that work, that brings you more work back in. So you almost have to try your best on every tattoo, because that tattoo isn't just getting paid for, it's advertising for future tattoos, if that makes sense. So if you sort of started with a client and you didn't quite put full effort in, you wouldn't be benefiting yourself in terms of once it gets loaded up, that might not bring you more work. So you sort of are always chasing for more bookings, if that makes sense. And that's where it's quite similar, isn't it, to PT?
Yeah. Do you reckon
you have to get the results on a client for more and future work, even with the same client?
Yeah. And if I'm consciously thinking about putting value in, and I'm thinking about like really helping and putting value in, I just get it back more.
Yeah.
When you're tattooing, do you notice at all? Do you have like your mind ever try and take shortcuts, or do you ever recognize like if you're perhaps doing, I don't know what it might be, like some sort of shading, some sort of, and you want to, because obviously I imagine if you're tattooing, you've got to pay attention, you've got to be in the moment, you can't have like shit going on in your head, you've got to be like laser focus. And so do you ever notice where your mind just wants to like cut any corners on anything, or do you know what I'm saying?
If that happens, you have a little break. When you're looking at the skin, after a bit of time, you need to walk away for a sec and give your eyes a chance to adjust. So you almost need regular break to ensure your concentration's there and ensure you're not missing anything, because not only are you ensuring you're putting everything right in the skin, you're also following a design. So you're constantly looking at your reference image and making sure. So a tattoo's a build up. You're building it up. You're making sure you're accurately copying what you see. So you're trying to build up the contrast that you see on the finger, and you're trying to make sure you don't saturate the skin too heavily. So once the ink's in the skin, there's no going back. So it is very much a slow process of building up. And what I tend to do when I'm working on a tattoo, I work around the tattoo. So I'll be on a certain spot and I move on and come back to it. So I don't work on a section of skin and complete that and then never come back to it. I work around the tattoo, so I'm always moving around. So say, for example, I was doing a face or whatever it may be. If I was doing a face and I was saturating the cheek of the face to get that shade, I'll build up some shading, but it won't be the finished product there. And then so I'd move across to somewhere else, and as you're building it up, you're noticing areas that need more work, if that makes sense.
I think,
you know what I mean?
I think so.
Obviously, that wouldn't just isn't something you might fully understand. But what I'm saying is you do tend to work around to stop you overpacking ink in a certain area, if that makes sense. Once you make a tattoo too dark, you can't make it lighter. So
no, imagine is it, yeah, like almost as if, let's say I was to go to a cafe and then draw on a napkin. Perhaps I was inspired by something, and I wanted to draw on a napkin, and I had felt tip. I would want to start on the napkin and make sure I'm moving around. And if I'm going to go to if I'm going to go heavily on like an area of the napkin, then I probably want to I want to do lines, and then I want to.
I love how you're taking a tattoo and reducing it to a doodle on a napkin. That's like saying if I wanted to be a good runner, would I maybe just watch a video on YouTube of someone else running and feel like I can then do that afterwards. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not really, it doesn't compare basically.
Yeah,
but I see where you're going.
Yeah, you got to set the scene. If you're running, you got to make sure you open a window. If you're watching a video of someone running, you got to open a window.
Switch a fan on. Feel that cool breeze.
Feel that breeze running through your hair, and yeah, you got to be in the right. Like you got to be wearing the right sort of gear as well. We've got to
like you're watching a video of someone running through like they're running through an area that's really dusty, and like you're grabbing a handful of dirt from outside and like throwing it at your face and stuff.
Yeah, dirt and cat litter, because you just got to move with what you've got, and you just get in pots like succulent plants and just running over them, running through your indoor plants and pouring a cat litter over your head.
So as you know, I did PTing in the army, and then I did get my level 3, and the only thing that put me off doing it as a career was the unsociable hours, because I have invested a lot of time into learning about the body, and I spent a lot of time training people in the army, and also getting me qualifications to become a PT. And once I qualified, I'd almost lost the passion for it a bit. And in a way, it's a very exciting job, but you've got to stay massively motivated all the time. And it's like before when I was saying that on a tattoo, you can't switch off in terms of focusing on the detail and making sure you are putting the most effort in on the tattoo. But that also works with being a PT. You've got to be enthusiastic all the time. You couldn't turn up to a session and just sit down and just be like to your client, just start with a few press ups if you want. Do you know what I mean? The client would be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you've almost got to turn up, and you've got to be the motivator and be like, right, so let's start off. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, for sure you do. I think like you can definitely program yourself though, just beforehand. You can just say like a few little positive affirmations and stuff to get you in the mood. And then what motivates me if I feel like I can't be fucked, what's it all about? Is I think about it in terms of like if it was my session, I think like, if this was my session today, it's a ritual for me. It's a nice little ritual, and it's like I enjoy it, going through it. And then so I make it that, and I kind of get a little bit excited for them. That's what's good about the 10 minutes. It gives me the chance as well to have a look at what my next client, what they do, what their goal is, like
it's like
training that day, and I get motivated and I visualize it happening.
It's like a chef tasting his dish, and before he serves it to the person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Not as many dishes, and there's not as many.
No, but what I mean is
there's a lack of dishes.
You're ensuring you like the recipe, basically.
Yeah.
If you're going to serve it onto other people, and the recipe's your session, you're delivering a session to someone that you feel like if you was the client, you'd benefit from it.
Yeah.
And you'd walk away from that session thinking that was worth every penny.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you take up jobs like a PT, you couldn't be a PT just for the money. You have to enjoy the job. You have to care about the body. You have to be enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And same with tattooing. You couldn't be tattooist because you feel like it's good money, because you wouldn't put the effort into people's designs. You wouldn't be creative, and you wouldn't be producing good content on the basis that it would just be for the money. You have to, once you do things and it's not about the money, you'll find that you always progress further in it when it stops being about the money and it starts being about
value,
your passion or value in that certain subject. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like when you're in it just to grow and learn and like be the like and you have to be you have to be the student, you have to be curious, and not just like you have to in order to be good at it. I think it's important to do it just because if you're doing it, you're doing it. You might as well go full in. You might as well go full heart, put your heart into it whilst you're doing it, rather than be like, well, I don't know. Like you're doing it, so do it. That's what I've learned recently. Actually, that was something I recently learned, was to go all in on it. Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? And if you're not, is there's fear?
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be for more than just being motivated by the financial benefit of something. And this is what you see when you see people at the top of the game and stuff, like really successful comedians and actors. They don't go into it for the money. They go into it massively for the passion of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are you doing, dude? By the way.
Fucked up. I'm a jet. Fucked up. No, I wanted to shut my curtain and it couldn't have gone. Every time I shut my curtains, it's such a simple doing. It's just like, but I went to do it and it was caught in the door a bit, and I pulled it, and then the rail is like, it goes into itself a bit, like it goes thinner and then it goes into itself. And where I pulled the thing and I pulled it over, I pulled like the rail out and the rail fell down slightly and then I it back in through. So this whole time you're like talking about mastering your craft and honing your shit, and I'm like, yeah.
It's like when you it's like if you when you're in like a crowded area or something and you drop something and it rolls away from you dead far and you're like chasing it along the road. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Peter.
You always feel like, how could that have gone? Why? How could that have gone any worse? You know what I mean?
It's Peter and the Frog, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to get
out. Oh God, yeah.
Out of the window, or like falling.
When he's scraping it up the side of the window. So, are you in much contact with people at the moment, or are you tending to just be more work orientated and stuff? Because, like, I always find that what tends to happen is you have different things in your life, and obviously work's the thing. Then you have friendships. Then you have various other things like your diet. And if you say you was to write down each one of these things on a board,
mm-hmm.
as you invest more time into one of the areas, other areas tend to suffer. So it's like trying to find a balance, isn't it? So as I work more, I don't see as much of my mates, but I'm actually doing well at work. But then you see more of your mates and you tend to be less focused on work. So you always seem to be trying to balance between, and it's like the same with, I'm seeing too much of my mates, I'm not meal prepping, I'm not focusing much on my diet, or because I've been working all these hours, I've found that I've been eating a lot of crap because I've not had time to prep. Or at the same time, you're putting more time into prepping, so you find that you've got less time to invest in your work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So not only
how are you juggling things at the moment?
How am I getting on with it?
Yeah,
I feel like I'm doing very well. And it's also it's on top of the balancing act. It's also about like figuring out your values and what your values are as well.
Yeah, and they always tend to change based on what's going on, don't they? So
books you've read, books that have influenced you, people that have influenced you.
It's not. it's not set in stone, is it? There's not. You don't issue yourself with a set of rules when you're a child and then you stick by them for the rest of your life. They constantly gets adapted and molded, don't it, based on what's going on. So you could put a lot of time into a certain thing, and you can suddenly go off it. I find that weird when you go off of food you've eaten for years. Have you ever had that happen to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're a massive fan of a certain. You could be a massive fan of a certain type of alcoholic drink, and you're getting smashed on this same. Say you're having a certain gin for years, and then you have one particular bad night on it, and your liking for that particular drink can change, and you can be suddenly repulsed by the thought of it. Have you ever had that?
Yeah, and you know what's funny as well with that is you could probably laugh at like certain areas and times of your life, like just by like, for example, if I was like homemade Scotch egg, this could like shoot you back to like, especially if you were like real, like you know, a bit older, and it's like,
yeah,
you could be like, oh, that was fucking 2001, like, you know, like certain foods, and there's nostalgia to it. There's a nostalgia of like, oh, I remember that I was dating this girl, and I was like, this was my friend at the time, and I was also into this sport, tennis or whatever it may be. Like, yeah, and there's a nostalgia behind a certain food, like, as well.
Yeah. I mean, how do you feel about like socializing at the minute and going out and stuff? Because it's like, I mean, I like going out for food with my girlfriend. This is something we do a lot of, but at the minute the whole dynamic of it's changed. Like you go to a restaurant and you feel rushed. You sat there and you go in with your face mask on, and it's just like, it just all seems bollocks. Do you know what I mean? Like how certain places can stay open. It's like the virus picks and chooses. Do you know what I mean? But how are certain areas having to close certain places, and then other areas can stay open? Certain professions can't work. Certain professions can. I find with rules, they should apply to everybody, or not no one at all, because in society, when rules only apply to certain people and other people get to avoid these rules, it tends to make people want to ignore them, if that makes sense.
And they should. It's a weird dictatorship, isn't it? It's like,
yeah.
And yeah, I push back against it quite a lot, just because like my whole philosophy has kind of always been, I think you're similar, let people do what the fuck they want, is that as long as they're not a really strong jiu-jitsu player doing a lot of rapes, you know, I don't think you should do that. But in terms of like, I don't know, if someone's like walking in an area, or you know, like, and it's like they're supposed to have a mask on, yeah, they're supposed to have a mask on, but they don't.
Dude, have you seen the video on Instagram of that guy in the gym in Liverpool that's having
trying to shut Liverpool gym down, and they're like, everybody.
Yeah, and he's set up this GoFundMe, and it's doing dead well, because what he's basically getting these fines, and they're trying to close his gym, but he's trying to unite the gyms together to keep people. But what he's basically saying is right. These fines are ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? To force, but how I think it should work, I think people should be made aware of this virus, and then based on medical records and people's age groups and certain studies, they should identify the people most at risk and then advise them, not enforce them, advise them that they're more at risk. And do you know what I mean? These certain people should avoid going to certain places, doing certain things. And again, it becomes a guideline rather than a strictly law-abiding rule. Do you know what I mean?
And if you're trying to close down places, recognize positive places. If the number one objective is to keep people alive, then shutting down a space that directly has a positive impact on your health, like, is not a good move. It's like, you know, if there's someone like being like handing out vitamin D tablets and B12 and, you know, all these like good vitamins that the body needs and is going to keep,
there comes a point
and keep you like
where
immune system good.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna carry on. Keep your immune system good, then you got to keep it like, you know what I mean, you've just got to fucking, you will learn. I was thinking this at the beginning, like when we're on the phone sometimes, I'll be talking and you'll go, dude, you know what it is? And I'm like, he'll learn. When he watches it back, he'll be like, I really should just let people finish.
What it is sometimes is when I get a thought in my head, if I don't say it, I lose it. Do you know what I mean?
I do as well, and especially if it's something you've never thought of before and it's fresh because you're actively listening. I get it. You want to be like, oh shit, dude, I just had this new thought and this is like real cool because I've not had it before.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But like that listening, I think that listening, when you ignore it and then you listen again, it can give you something even better. Sometimes you can lose it. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So what you're saying is it can become an even stronger point if you sit on it for a sec.
And even like cooler idea, fresher idea.
Yeah.
More clarity. What yeah, so I think I'm doing really well in terms of the balance. Like I think I'm like, so in September I was influenced by cleaning, and I recognized the importance of getting your shit together. And through all of September, I spent a lot of time cleaning my camper van and like doing the shit that I knew needed to be done. And I spent like some 3-4 hours on certain days where if I wasn't as busy. And I know that's bonkers. And then during that, I just recognized that every time I'd come back here, I would like be full of like, feel welcomed, I'd feel like good, I'd feel like love for myself, knowing that like, I don't know, I would pick like the kettle out and I've cleaned the kettle, like something like it's a silver kettle and I've cleaned it, or I might put the water on, and like the water tank, when I fitted it, like it needed cleaning on the inside and I was aware of it, like had bits of plastic, and then I would clean that, and so cleaning held a value because I knew that like, all right, my shit, like I didn't, because there was areas I didn't clean. I knew that if I spent 4 hours cleaning it, once it's clean, like window cleaning with us when we used to do that, you recognize that you'll spend 4 hours on a big house because you know that next time you go there, all that shit is gone. There's only just like what's happened over 4 weeks as opposed to like 4 years or 10 years since they.
Yeah.
You don't mind putting that bit of effort in, and then you know that every time you go back there, it's clean. You just got to fucking go over it again, and it would be immaculate, and keep it immaculate. And like that for me has been rewarded in September. And this was like a bit of an imbalance that happened because during September, I was just cleaning. Like I was doing a hell of a lot of cleaning when I could have been doing other positive things. But that's worth it now because now it only takes me 20 minutes a day to like have a rota and do like certain areas and make and keep the van immaculate. What about you, dude? Like how do you think you like, what's important to you right now?
To me at the moment, I've sort of took a step back from wanting to be out drinking and partying and anything like that because I've not been out for ages. I'm tending to be very much business focused, and I'm hitting a level where with tattoos I'm still progressing at a dead steady rate at the moment, and it's benefiting me in terms of I'm getting more recognised in the industry, and like I'm finding it easy to get clients. Like earlier on, it's like when you start anything, before you've got to gain people's trust locally. So rather than someone saying I've been umming and ahhing and sort of saying, I don't know whether to go and try this out. I don't know whether to use his service. what's strengthened in that is other people they know who've also been to you and they've had a successful tattoo. But it might not be in tattooing, it could be in anything. But what it's doing is it's building, in a way, it's building a reputation in your field. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, that's valuable to me at the moment. I'm putting a lot into. I'm being mindful of my own progress, and I'm putting a lot of effort into that. Do you know what I mean? And I'm making sure that, because I've done it in the past, dude. For that, like, you know yourself, I've tried lots of things, and I've failed at lots of things. But what I've found most profound to me, and I remember being a bit younger, and you know, when you had someone that was really into the job, when I was a bit younger, you'd like think, oh, he's sad him, do you know what I mean? He's a sad bastard, he's just obsessed with his job, and like what you tend to what?
There's a banging, it sounds like Jumanji.
No, it's the fish tank.
Okay.
I've got a fish tank in the corner. What was I saying?
You're saying about like people that love their job and they go into it.
Oh yeah, so when I was a bit younger, that I was, you didn't understand someone that was into the work until you find that out for yourself and find something you love. And once you become passionate about something, it clicks and you get it, and you think, I understand why certain people become really job orientated and think, I want to focus on this.
Yeah.
And you have to. I think what I've learned is, and it's certainly something I'd have liked to have known when I was younger, is go after something you enjoy. Work occupies far too much of your life to do something you don't enjoy doing. So I'm not saying anyone should just, if they don't enjoy the job, they should just leave it, but they should bear in mind that work occupies, in terms of years, it occupies over half your life, and in terms of days, it occupies half the day. So it's very much a major factor in someone's happiness and what someone's eventually going to do in terms of success. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then on top of that, I think you learn passion when you and you learn to do things well when you do enjoy it. And for me, it's kind of been a bit like, I sometimes have to like see it in a selfish way. So like I have to be like, well, the more I know about this job and the body and the anatomy and how things work, the more I can fix myself as well. And like,
yeah,
I don't always think like that, but it certainly helps to think like that for me. And what I know now, I think anything I would have gone in, regardless of if I enjoyed it or not, I would have still now, if I could go into like jobs, I would put 100%. I think a lot of my jobs, I did put 100%. I know you put 100. We both window cleaned, and we both put 100% in. Like I was doing 6 hours a day of door knocking, and like you. Well, you paid your minions, didn't you? You paid your.
I liked how that started as a really motivational and complimentary sentence, and then come crashing down. You went, I did 6 hours of door knocking. You didn't do any door knocking.
Because I didn't remember until it was coming out. It was like, I'm doing it. I'm like, oh wait. And then I was gonna say, and you did the same. You certainly put the work in, because you got everything covered. I thought door knocking. Yeah, you dedicated.
Do you know what? As that built up, I was listening really attentively as you was going through it, and I felt myself nodding in agreement. And then I just thought, I was thinking, I like where this is going, and then it just comes to a halt.
Go on, do continue.
You know, like, have you ever drove down a road you've never been down before, and you're like interested in where it's going to lead you, and you're like, all right, this might bring me out where I need to go, and then you just hit a dead end.
But it gets narrower. It starts to get narrower, and then you go, oh, it's fine. It'll probably like, and it just gets narrower and narrower, and then there's just a gate in front of you.
Oh yeah, you realise you've entered someone's private road.
Yeah, and that's the equivalent of my conversation to you then about work and window cleaning and both.
That was brilliant. I did 6 hours a day.
Podcast on. Boom.
Dude, you know what's hilarious? My vision's been going from you to that hanging sack of apples the whole conversation. It's proper. It's inviting me to look at it.
I'm about to eat an apple as well.
Every now and again, when you move, the apples wobble slightly. Do you know what I mean? In the sack. Yeah, but in terms of what we were saying before about values, I'm very much work orientated, and weirdly enough, in lockdown, I went from, because I've trained constantly from being in the army right through up until lockdown, and that's the first ever break I've had from training. And what I found was my diet stayed the same, my greed stayed, I was still eating as much. So I tended to put, I was tending to, because I was doing nothing, I was tending to eat more, if anything, and I put a lot of weight on over lockdown. And when the gyms reopened, I did, no, actually what happened, the gyms were still shut, but what happened is the Prime Minister did some sort of announcement, and he lightened some restrictions in certain areas, and they was allowed to open tennis courts. And I just joined this tennis club, and I've been doing tennis lessons ever since with this guy, and I've come on a lot. And to be honest, that's occupying a lot of my spare time at the minute. And with regards to the gym, I've not been going as much as I should. Do you know what I mean?
What is it about tennis you like?
It's fun, but it's hard as well. It's hard to learn the skill. So it's challenging, it's fun, and at the same time it's exercise, so it's rewarding mentally.
Yeah, they say that. They say that in terms of flow state, like that's when you can be at your happiest, is flow state, is like that balance, isn't it, between difficulty, like you don't want it too challenging, because then you're like, this shit. And then you don't want it too easy, because
this is another thing I've learned over the years as well, and this is advice for people that really struggle to lose weight and get into fitness. What I've found, and this point, it marries up nicely with the same thought process in terms of work, in terms of doing what you enjoy. When someone really struggles to find the motivation to get training and they can't always afford a PT, I think it starts at the basis of enjoying a sport or something, because as soon, like you said, you go to when you was going to jiu-jitsu, one of the main motivating factors of you going to do that, other than the interest, would have been the fact you enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? So it's enjoying something massively helps towards the level of effort you'll put into that and the time you'll invest in it. So you find a lot of people that can't be asked going gym. There's other ways of exercising, and a lot of the time people never think of trying a sport they've never tried before and think that actually this might benefit me. Do you know what I mean?
Because it takes discipline and it's scary.
Yeah.
It's like, it's scary to venture into the unknown, even if it is tennis.
Do you know what's funny? I'm still finding that comment before hilarious. I was doing 6 hours a day of door knocking. And then you went, and you, oh no, you didn't do this.
It was like, you didn't do the 6, did you?
I was listening, I was digesting what you were saying, and I was slowly unraveling where it was going, and I thought, oh, right.
Were you like being carried? You were being carried
I
by
was so, I
cloud.
was so, I was slowly understanding how I was less, how I deserved less credit, as you were saying.
Nah, dude. I think you delegated. Like you used your sources. You know, you had money and
Yeah,
I didn't. Like, or you had cash. I didn't. So it's like, I did the same thing. Like if I could pay people because it didn't make sense to you. I didn't. You had time. You were being paid for your time, and so the door knock for free. It's better to just pay someone to do it, and then you can use your time to earn. So we had different
yeah,
situations, but you've always hustled. I think we've both hustled. The only time we didn't hustle was in the army.
yeah, of course.
Don't get me wrong. We were the fittest. We were the fittest in the battery, platoon, whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah,
but in terms of like knuckling down and playing the game, like going on adventure training in Wales, skinny dipping when we
I
went
just found
fucking around.
the army was it could be very cheesy when, you know what I mean, when it comes to like, do you know when you had like exercises and stuff and you had to do certain things, and you just found that a lot of the soldiers took it way too seriously, like they were at war when they wasn't at war. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it took some of the
it's gross
it
to
took
see.
some of the fun away from it. Do you know what I mean?
It's too easy to take the piss out of someone that's like, okay, guys, paddle, paddle, paddle.
Yeah.
When we're like on
Do you remember Reggie's teeth when he brought the battery to attention? Battery.
There's a hell of a. There's 90% teeth. Didn't know.
Yeah.
Like his entire body was consumed by teeth.
I've never seen someone's teeth embrace the world like that. It was like watching a flower blossom or something.
It was like dispelling darkness. Just white teeth, just consuming black holes. Remember
What?
Remember when we went adventure training and the dude was like, because this is what I mean about the enthusiasm. So the guy was a civilian, but he was like, okay, guys, paddle, paddle, paddle. And like, we were all like paddling, going down the whitewater raft in Wales. And then we hit the bottom and then it's like, and then I think Winnie fell out and then he's like, oh my God, to the battle stations, grab him. When he's 6'8", for those that don't know, like, get him. And then when he just stands up and it's like the river's like, what, just below his knees. And he's like, there.
Yeah, like
it's all in the boat. And the guy's like, grab him.
Like his life was in immediate danger.
Yeah, and it was just like you can't get on board with the whole like of it all when it's.
Dude, I think we've done well today to keep the conversation flowing, considering it's our first recording.
Yeah, I do. We've done.
But how long have we been going for? It's got to be an hour.
Yeah, it doesn't say. It doesn't say.
Hey, we've not been going as long as we spent trying to download the apps before. But no, I think yeah. For now, we should sit down once a week, every Sunday, and just reflect on the week and talk about what's on our mind and shit.
Yeah, I know you said not to make notes, but I think it is good to make notes as well, because ideas inspire you, don't they? Like if you go out on a run where it's just your mind, you can get inspired, you can get questions come into your mind that you haven't asked or perspective.
Yeah.
You want to capture that and you want to write that down and maybe bring it up. Because, dude, I did that today. When I'm driving, I was having loads of like quite cool questions and things I want and funny subjects I wanted to cover with you. And I was like, that's cool. I remember it. And I just don't remember any of it at all.
Yeah. That's a lot of the time why I interrupt sometimes, because it'll come to my head and I think, oh, I need to say that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a lot of the time it's not even that important. But
this is what mushrooms taught me. Nothing's important. Every time we open our mouths, we're all morons. We're all morons talking as if we know what's going on. But then your reality's bending and morphing and doing stuff in front of you, and it's just like, it's cool, man.
Like almost as insignificant as pigeons fighting over a bit of food outside of a shop in the local town.
Dude, if you want joy into your heart, if you want to strike joy into your heart and like warmth and love, what you got to do is fucking throw some bread down for pigeons, record them on Snapchat or something, and play heavy metal out loud. And it's the fucking dude. I discovered it. It's like years ago I did this, and it is the best thing I fucking did. Rock music or metal or some sort of like pigeons grabbing bread and throwing it over their head and just going like.
Because what it does, it turns.
Never fails.
It turns what they're doing into like a proper aggressive like dance.
Yeah, it's just a mosh pit. How they eat though is just pigeons eat metal, like metal music.
Do you know what just come to my head then on Ace Ventura when he goes in? It's Greg here. Thank you.
What are you doing this evening?
I'm going picking my girlfriend up soon, so we're going to bring the session to a close. What we'll do, dude, we will. We'll go for every Sunday initially. We'll just see. We'll see how it goes. I think all you can sort of do is put your videos out there and see if it gets any interest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, this is why I said to us about, I didn't want to put pressure on it, but I said why I think the reason I said before about if we can go in a little flow state where we just using our imagination and just chatting pure shit and making shit up and doing stories, I think that's beneficial, because if I was listening to someone, like a lot of people, if we put this out, aren't going to know who the fuck we are. They're going to be like, oh, who the fuck is this? So why would you listen to someone that you didn't know? Like for you personally, I know for me, the answer, let's say there was two dudes and they put a podcast out and you're like, oh, who the fuck are these dudes? And you listen to the podcast. What would keep you coming back if you didn't know them?
You'd have to connect with something in the podcast, wouldn't you? You'd have to either like the people's views, or you would have to want a certain aspect of it. So, because we're not trying to stage anything, are we? We're trying to just put our podcast across. So it's not.
No.
I wouldn't want it sort of where it's dead sort of cheesy and dead staged. I just want to get together, even in terms of over this chat, and then we'll put our content out there. That's as good as that's initially. Sort of see where it goes.
Yeah. And it's time, isn't it? Like we said before, it's time and effort. It's like over time.
Yeah.
Dude, if I was thinking this morning, I was like, if we got one person to view it, and then every time we uploaded, it just said watched, one view, I'd still be like, well, okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
should we bring the session to an end, dude?
Yeah. So we'll be like 6 years from now, we'll have one view, and I'll be like, and you'll be like, all right, we've done over 90,000 hours.
And the viewer is someone we've asked to watch it.
It's me. Watch it back.
It's not you. It's mushroom. Under the influence of mushroom version of you. So you forget you even listen. So the only viewer is a different version of yourself that's unaware he's even viewed it.
Different reality. Yeah, I'm just like viewing it. Yeah, waking up the next day with like a weird head and being like, oh, some weird video pool. Sending through screenshots.
Yeah.
I took a shit in a bag today.
What's that?
I took a shit in a bag.
What do you mean?
So, sometimes I get caught short. But dude, so you know, obviously, like in the army, we'd shit on a field and stuff. Big.
Yeah.
What was your system?
Just when I recorded you having that shit on exercise.
No.
Do you not remember this? You was nearly crouched down having a shit, and I was taking photos of you.
I did that to Hursty, and I've got one where Hursty's like knelt down, and he's like, and he's got his hand on his head like this, and he's like this, looking at me like thing, just like crouched down by the AS90 by the tracked wheels and under the cam net.
Finish your story about shitting in a bag anyway.
So I got to the bottom of this hill that I wanted to walk, and I was like, cool. So I just had a coffee, and I really needed shit, and was like, oh shit. Usually, I dig the hole in nature, so I'd like got a little spade, and I'd dig like a square out, pick the square out of the ground, put it down, squat down and shit in it, and then obviously put the square of grass back on and stamp it down like you do in the army, like you're taught.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it, so I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna just shit in a bag." So I shat in a bag, tied it up, and then was like, "Right, I'm gonna just walk." And I guarantee there'll be a dog bag, like a dog poo bin bag, poo bin, and and so I ended up walking. But as I went out, there was old people just like ahead of me. And they were like taking the time, and I was like, oh, I don't want them to be like, oh, go on, walk by, because I had poo in my hand, like a bag with poo. Like, yeah, more.
You had a bag of poo, but no dog to blame.
Yeah. So super suspicious. So every time they would stop and she would look back, I had my water in my hands and my rucksack and my poo bag. She would like look behind and look at me, and then I'd kind of stop and just kind of like look around, like look down, starting on a hill, like to make sure they wasn't like, oh, go past, because I just didn't want the smell.
Have you ever been shitting in nature somewhere where you've had to like shit outside, and you've noticed, you've heard voices on like a nearby path coming towards you, and you've been proper rushing, thinking you're gonna get caught?
Yeah, kids.
When's that happened?
I was so there's a view of like a lake, and then you can walk off, and it was like you could go in this grassy bit and then go down into a valley, and for some reason I thought it was good to shit there, but it's not.
Yeah.
Walk and look down in the valley, and then so I was shitting there, and I heard kids, so just like pulled my pants up, trackies, let them walk by.
Yeah.
I had my bag and toilet roll and stuff, but it was all in the bag. And then, and then just wiped my bum as soon as they were gone.
Right, dude.
On that note,
it's a good time to finish. Straight after the discussion of shitting.
What are we doing when we finish? Are we being like, big love to all our fucking millions of viewers, and then editing it, or are we just gonna be like?
No, we just but say bye.
So I'll stop recording in 3, 2, 1.